Good afternoon, Elisabeth.
Hi, so nice to see you, Tessy. Thanks for having me on your Zoom call.
So nice to see you. Where are you and how are you?
I'm currently in Monday's headquarters in Zurich, right in town, and I'm very well. I've just had a couple of weeks holiday, which has been very nice. We have a break, and now the kids are off, and I'm just enjoying life in Zurich. It's quite quiet, and yeah, really good actually. Thank you. How are you?
I am really good. I'm in London, getting my kids ready for school. Yeah, working as usual and squeezing in some Zoom o'clocks in between just because I love them so much. And I am so excited to be talking with you today because for everyone who has not yet heard of Elisabeth and what she is working in, what she spends her time with, will be really, 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 really inspired today because we're talking about something that makes a woman, something without that there would be no kids, something without that there would just be there's no biological cycle, nothing. We're talking about menstruation, about something that is the most natural thing in the world, and yet it's the most frowned upon thing as well. Women in some countries are being locked up into menstruation huts. Others are being seen as dirty when they have their period. They cannot touch anyone. They cannot cook when they have their period, cannot go to school. What we will be talking about is specifically about Elisabeth's company, which is called Organic Mondays, which produces plastic-free hygiene products for women. And before we dive into the product itself and why it's important to buy plastic-free products and how plastic, especially with female hygiene products, has affected the environment and the climate, I would love to know from you, Elisabeth, how did you get into this domain in the first place? Obviously, we are women and we all have our period once a month. But specifically, how did you come up with the idea of creating that plastic-free female hygiene product? And how difficult was it actually to create it, to get it out there and make it successful?
Thank you, Tessy, for a great introduction of the subject of menstruation. And you're very right, it is still a huge taboo subject. So for an ex-investment banker, it's quite a strange cycle to come around to. I guess maybe part of it is looking back in life and thinking, at this stage in my life, I want to give something back. I want to do something good. I'm also a strong believer in business can be a force for good. So that's partly shaped this sort of Monday's experience and where we've arrived at. But actually all started with my co-founder telling me that the products we were using every month were made not only packaged in plastic, were made of plastic. And this really shocked me. In part also, to be honest, because I have daughters and I had spent so much time looking after them in terms of health and what they were wearing and what they, medicines I used on them and everything. And this just, as they were getting older, I couldn't conceive of giving them products that were like that. And setting up Mondays as two women was definitely something we both sort of had a journey to get there. Initially, of course, you start looking in the market, where can we get this kind of product? We realized it wasn't easy. Yeah. And we began to realize actually the real hurdle here is education. Women are not being told about what's in their products. There is very little regulation in the sector. Companies don't have to reveal what ingredients are. And so it was sort of like this whole momentum. It sort of took off on its own and we couldn't not do it. We couldn't not get out there and make this change. And so the whole driver between Mondays, sort of between us and Mondays, has been that it's not just about being a business and taking a business opportunity, but really creating a momentum where women can stand up and say, we don't want this anymore. We value our menstruation, like you said before. None of us would exist without it. In fact, what's also happened, and I think that's important to mention, is within 2 generations, we've gone from having about 100 periods to 450 periods in a lifetime. And that's a consequence, of course, of contraception, of education. We're not having as many children anymore either now. And so we're having a huge number of periods. We're using about 11,000 to 12,000 period products every person in their lifetime. That's a huge number of products. And we realized we needed to bring an awareness into the market, but also enable women to very easily get hold of these products. And that's the problem. You know, if you have a few thousand or even a million women saying, you know, we don't want this anymore, the larger the numbers, the more pressure you have on the corporates to make change happen.
Yeah.
So obviously, to answer your question as well, how difficult it was. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, as you know, there is very little funding given to female founded companies. I mean, VC numbers are very low. I think 4% is sort of what we've seen in the last couple of years that actually goes to female founded companies. And then you've got to add the other level of it, that we're talking about a subject that not only women feel very uncomfortable about, but men certainly feel very uncomfortable about. However, when you start talking about the sheer numbers and the volume and the fact that this is a very neglected market, there was interest. And so we were really fortunate to be able to launch the company. And we've used technology. I mean, for us, that's been the crux of it as well. Say, there's positive with that technology. You can go online, you can buy a product easily, you can have it sent to you, and you can make that vote. I don't want this product anymore. I want a good product. I want it's better for me and better for the planet.
That's amazing. So let's dive a little bit more deeper into the products then, just because, well, I have millions of questions. So my first question, you were saying that, you know, we women don't always know what is in our products, especially, you know, pads is one thing when they're plastic, but tampons is something we insert in ourselves, which brings a certain risk. And there's even diseases with that. People die of that. Women die because of tampons. I think, what are you referring to when you say, what can be in a tampon actually that a woman inserts, and what is the worst you have heard?
So the fact of the matter is that when you have a product like a pad, you can first of all use language like feels like cotton. They are bleached to look white. They are effectively a pack of pads. The most best-selling pads in the market are 90% plastic. So one pack of pads, so 10 pads, is the equivalent of 4 plastic carrier bags on its own. Oh. So that's first one side. The second thing is under words such as perfume, for example, which is often used. I mean, that's been a huge trend in the last years when it comes to pads, is that they put perfume in it. That is another whole issue that for me is a very upsetting sort of undertone. It kind of gives you the feeling that how you smell naturally is not nice when you've got your period. And that's not a reality. That's not true. And by sort of introducing perfume to make you feel like you should be smelling something like flowers instead of the way you really smell is quite upsetting to me. But actually the reality is, well, under that word perfume, you can hide about 3,000 undisclosed chemicals. And so the health consequences are obviously you wearing this pad against your skin. It's a very sensitive part of your skin. It's very absorbent, and you're wearing them for many hours. And so, you know, we certainly have seen, and we have many doctors who tell us that they have very problems with itching, thrush, infections. And so there's many consequences. There just isn't enough research in this space, to be really honest. You know, I think in many areas of medicine, when it comes to female issues specifically, there hasn't been enough research. With regards to tampons, toxic shock syndrome is something that we've all known about. In fact, you saw a spike in toxic shock syndrome in the 80s. And what I understand is at the time, companies were really pushing the limits to what they were putting in tampons. And also, women weren't educated enough about having to change their tampons on a regular basis. So nowadays, what you can find in a tampon is often a cotton rayon mix. What they don't have to disclose is what the percentages are. They also will find polyester on the outside of the veil, which basically contains the tampon and allows, you know, means that fiber loss isn't so great. The string itself is often polyester. And then it's glued in, usually into the tampon. So, you know, but there's very little regulation in this. You don't have to declare what's in your products, and no one talks about it. I mean, that's the other thing, right? You know, we all talk about how I'm so proud of my refillable water bottle, or but it's, you're not going to meet a couple of girls who stand up and say, hey, you know, oh, I love my tampon, look, it's organic cotton, you know. It just doesn't come up in the conversation.
No, it is really, really true, you know. And you know, well, I don't have a daughter, but just the sheer fact for me as a woman, you know, to grow up in a man world, also in the military and others, it's just, you know, in the corporate world, moving on a little bit to the corporate world, then no one talks about that. And also not, you know, how they can support their female employees, because, you know, every period is different. And some women really suffer as well. That's one. And then also there's a tampon tax in some countries, in most countries actually still, which is crazy, because I think the period is one of the most natural things we're having, and we can't change it, right? You can't get rid of the period. And yet we need to pay a tampon tax in order to protect ourselves from any embarrassment, just to make sure that we are fine and covered during that time. So what do you think of all of that? And what was your experience with corporates? Was it a good experience? Are the corporates mostly female who work with you, who say we want to give these products for free to our employees? Or is it also men? What do you think?
So the two sort of subjects here, one is tampon tax. So tampon tax is quite interesting, isn't it? In the UK, very luckily, we're going to be seeing 0% as of January 2021. About time.
It's sad that it still takes another 6 months that we do that.
It's crazy. Shocking, huh? Crazy. And right now there are people where a 5% reduction in price would make a big difference, like you say. Certainly right now, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got in Switzerland, we have voted on it, for example. And I think for me, what really shocked me about it here was that I found out, for example, a bunch of flowers had a lower tax on it than tampons and pads, sanitary products. They were regarded more essential than feminine hygiene products. We voted on it, but there isn't very much clarity about when that's changing either. So, you know, that's definitely something we feel strongly about, and I totally agree with you on that. That's something everybody should be talking about that. And I think actually, shockingly enough, a lot of women don't even know that they're paying that amount of tax on it. And going to the corporates, I think that's maybe also building into this whole, you know, conversation and breaking the taboo. The reality, like you say, is that it happens to all of us. It's something that we might know our cycles, we might follow them. I mean, every woman has their own period, like you say, but it's not something you can control. And I think the level of taboo and the fact that we're not having that conversation is shown by the fact that many men aren't aware of that fact, because no one turns around to their male colleague and says, you know what, I have to leave right now. I've got to go to the supermarket downstairs because I've run out and I've got my period. Or, you know, and I've even had one male guy at a corporate talk to me and tell me that, well, can't you just hold it in?
Wow.
No.
Really, right? Very uneducated.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is, it's a wonderfully simple, effective step to take for a company to do. Because in one easy step, you can make a woman feel so much more at ease at work. I mean, we've all worked in businesses where we've had a meeting and you're running there and maybe you're prepared and you've got something in your handbag on your desk, but that's 3 flights down, you know, 3 floors down. And you don't have 20 minutes to run down there and get what you need to get. And just that simple step, and I think it's massively effective, and the feedback companies get when they've done this move with Mondays has been incredible. Women feel so welcome and they feel recognized. They're different. You know, the whole conversation about diversity is opened up because diversity is about accepting and embracing differences, not pushing them down, and that is really part of it. And so I find it amazingly empowering. I love it. I mean, we just were the other day at a company, and they're switching to Mondays because we're a sustainable company.
Nice.
And
Wow.
yeah, and they already provide, and I think that's wonderful. And yeah, I think, like I said, it's a really positive step. Yeah.
So, because we are running out of time.
Yes.
This is such an important topic, and it's just, we need to talk more about that for sure. But before I let you go, do you have anything that inspired you, or maybe a book even, that you said, this is something that made me think about this a bit more clearly, where we said, okay, I need to get into this a bit more, or anything else you would like to share with us before I let you go?
Well, I'll share a book. I'd love to share a book. We have always, one thing I think is very important when you're working, especially in quite a high stressful environment, is to have humor. And this is my favorite book. I always go back to this. Is by Emma Barnett. She's quite a famous radio presenter in the UK. Yeah. It's called "It's About Bloody Time." Period. And it really, for me, has opened up the whole conversation in a brilliantly humorous way, and covers many different aspects. And for somebody who wants to perhaps start looking at this and going, like, I don't know enough about this, male or female, menstruating or not, it's a great start, because it's done with humor, and I think that's really important, because it's a serious subject, like you said, but it's a good way for people to feel comfortable about talking about it. And I suppose the last thing I'll leave you with is, come visit us on our website, get in touch with us on LinkedIn or Facebook, Organic Mondays. We really have tried to make a switch from what everyone is using right now. Really 90+% of the market of women or anyone who's menstruating are using plastic products. Go in your bathroom, have a look what's in there, and you know what? Make a change. And be it come to Mondays, come and have a look, try our products. We are not only plastic free in terms of product, our packaging is completely plastic free too. And it's easy to make that switch. And I think we all have to make these steps. And hopefully this will then push the conglomerates to change the way, because plastic doesn't belong in this product at the end of the day. I just, can't stress that enough, for health and for the planet.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I will definitely make sure I share your website and everything, also the book, below the YouTube video for you. And as Elisabeth said, if you want to get in touch with her, please do write to. If you're corporate listening to this and you're thinking, yes, I really want to be part of this change, because it's natural, and we should have done that a long time ago and not wait until January 2021 and all of these things. It's just a normal thing. And even now, already before Corona, but during Corona now, a lot of people have lost their jobs. Also in the UK, there's girls here who cannot afford sanitary products, well, female hygiene products. We have it in the UK. People always says, oh, it's for developing countries. No, we have that here too. And I think it's really time to make us women, 50% of the world population, feel welcomed and feel accepted for exactly the beautiful, diverse woman we are. And I think it's time to talk, period. Thank you so much, Elisabeth.
Hey, thank you, Tessy, for your time and your support. Really appreciate it.
Anytime. Bye.